All right, welcome back. Last time we were talking about scales and how to divide the inch into 10 different divisions, and that can be applied for the micrometer. And also, in this case, we're gonna first talk about the dial caliper. And the first dial caliper that we shown is this one. And then, which is a Fowler. Then we have a Mitutoyo dial caliper. And you notice that this does have a 1 inch as well, and is divided into 10 different sections. And this has the other scale, the millimeter scale on top of it, as opposed to this one, it does not. So this one works only in inches, just 1 inch, and nothing, just the bottom. But this other one has the inch and also gives you the millimeters on top. So this has both systems, the metric system here and the inch English Imperial American system right here. So it's an awesome tool to have. We're going to talk more about this later on, just on the dial caliper. But before we do that, we're going to talk about what I called reading and talking manufacturing numbers in the shop floor, in the production shop floor, which is something that you may assume that you know how to read and how to talk numbers as far as dimensions, but a lot of people that are not having been doing this, and if you're new in a shop, in a production shop, in a manufacturing shop, you might hear how the old timers read numbers and talk about numbers of dimensions, and you might get all confused about it. So I'm going to show you how is that done. In other words, these numbers that we've been looking at, how do you read this number? You know, this is 0.500 thousandths of an inch, but they might refer it a little bit different. Some people may refer it different depending how they learned that in school. So I'm going to erase this, and I'm just going to put some numbers here, and hopefully you can understand and learn. The objective is to learn how to read and how to convey information of dimensions with numbers. That's the objective. Okay, so if I write down a number here, I'm going to make it big. This number. How do you read that number? If you're in the machine shop, if you're in the manufacturing world, what is that number? Any of you know?
0.26.
0.26? What? What unit?
Inches.
Inches? Okay, you can say 0.26, like you just said, I'm writing again, of an inch. Yes, somebody would understand that, but that's not the correct way of doing it. 0.26 of an inch is more like a scientific way of reading it, but in the machine shop, you would not say that. Let me see if this erases. Yep. The way they would read this,
Feet.
no, it was still in inches. This is 0.260 thousandths of an inch.
Okay.
So what they did is they added an extra 0 here so they can read this in the thousand. Thousands of an inch. So you may not have a complete number in a number that you're reading, but you need to complete this number to 3 places after the decimal. So these 3 places. What I'm talking about is if you just get 0.26, you need to put a 0 here, either in your mind or in the paper that you're doing, so you can read it correctly. And after you have the 3 digits, you read it like if it would be like hundreds, right? 260, it's like you're reading 100, 260 thousandths of an inch. So making this number 3 digits, 3 places or digits, I'm going to put here a method that I teach so that you understand this. This is called think of three. I'm gonna do it with different color. Think of 3 digits after the decimal point, right? After the decimal point. It's going to be the rule, or you can think of a tip so you can read these numbers. You always want to have 3 digits here. So if you don't have 3 digits, you add zeros to make 3 digits. Think of 3 digits. That way, the only thing you do is complete the 3 digits if they're not already completed, and then you say thousandths of an inch, and you have read the correct number. Okay? I'm going to go through several examples so that you can understand that. So I'll leave this rule here. I think this rule that I came up with is my own invention. By the way, you won't find it anywhere if you look in the internet or anything. But this is a way to help students and manufacturers and technicians and engineers, even engineers that go in the shop floor, to be able to read and talk the same language that's being taught in manufacturing. In a manufacturing world, this number is read 260 thousandths of an inch. But if you don't have that zero, you will not be reading that correctly, as we did in the earlier. If you see a number like that, some people may say 20.26 of an inch. No, that's not how you read that number. You gotta get into the thousands. To get into the thousands, you need to add a zero. So let me give you another example. Let's say you have a different number here. Let's say you have we're talking inches still. How would you read that number? Who wants to try it?
1 21 thousandths of an inch, or 1 inch and 21 thousandths.
Right, so you're saying 1 inch and 21 thousandths. Almost correct, but not quite. All right, so what's the rule? Think of 3 digits, right? After the decimal point. So you have 2 digits, you need 1 more. So I'm gonna add 1 more, and you add a 0. Now it makes it easy because you're gonna read this not as 21 thousandths, but this is 210 thousandths. Okay? So I'm gonna add a little bit more to my rule to make it clearer. Think of 3 digits after the decimal point and read as a 100 type of number.
Does that only apply when there's a digit before the decimal?
What's the question?
Does that only apply when there's a digit before the decimal, like a 1 or
No, it could be, this could be a different one. The question is, does this rule apply only when there's a digit before the decimal? No, this applies to any number after the decimal. So in other words, let me go ahead and write another number here. Let's say this is 0 and this number. See, there's no digit after the decimal. So what's the rule say? Think of 3 digits after the decimal point. So 1, 2, what would be the third digit that you add here? You add a 0.
But wouldn't that be 200? Oh, okay, never mind. 210 thousandths of an inch. Okay.
Right. So this number would read 0.210 thousandths of an inch. So think of 3 digits. We completed that third one after the decimal point, and read as a 100 type number. So this is 210 thousandths, but you don't say 210 hundredths. 210 thousandths of an inch. Okay. This is how the numbers are read, because as you work with the different machines, like the milling machine, if you're doing machining, and other ones, the readouts, they have 4 digits or 3 digits, and you're thinking in thousandths of an inch increments as you're working through things. Okay? Now let's go through a couple more numbers to see if you guys got it. if I put this number here, and let's say I put all right. So how would you read that number? 2 inches, 110,000. But let's just follow this right here.
You don't say 2 in 110,000?
2 inches and
2 inches.
2 inches. There's 2 inches and 110. But sometimes it's hard to see 110. That's why you got to put that 0 there in your mind or where you're reading. So 2 inches, 110 thousandths. I put T for thousandths of an inch. I'll just write it down. Thousandths of inch. Now, let me get a little bit more slang because some people don't like to say thousands. It takes thousands. It takes long to say that. So instead of thousands in the shop, they might say thou. Right? Thou. They just get this sound of thousands, thou. So this could be read 2 inches and 110 thou. And they're not going to say of an inch. They already know we're all already talking in inch language. So they might say, how big was that part? You're asking somebody and they say, oh, that was 110 thou. They wouldn't say 2 and. That's how they speak old timers in the shops where you have machining and manufacturing. And you need to understand this so that you can be in the same communication frequency as they are. And use like 2 what? 2 inches, okay. Thou means 1,000. Then you understand exactly the same number as they're speaking. All right, I'm gonna put a couple more exercises here to remember. So the rule right here, I call it the think of 3 rule. This is how you can use this rule to learn how to read numbers. I came up with that a long time ago to try to explain to students and to technicians on how to read these numbers. Some people just do it automatically because they've been in the business and they learn from others, but I don't think anybody has put it down as a rule. So this does not exist anywhere in no book or anything. It's just me, JP, that made that up to help you. Okay? So let's say we have another one. How would you read that number? Use the rule right here. What is the first thing you need to do? Number 1.
Add a 0.
Think of 3, right? Do you have 3 digits here?
Add a 0.
No, you don't yet until you put a 0. Then what you do? Number 2, you make it 3 digits, think of 3, and then you read the number as it would be 100 type of number. So what would that be?
Okay, so if it's in the 10 thing, is it going to be 10,000 of an inch or?
You got it. Or what? What else? What other possibility there might be? Right. Okay, so you read this 0 inches the correct way, long way. 0 inches. This is not 100. This is less than 100, so this is 10, right? 0 inches, 10 thousandths of an inch. Oops. Yeah. 10 thousandths of an inch. So let me put thousandths. Oops, it's kind of hard. See, thousandths of an inch. So they think of 3 digits and read as 100 type of a number, but this is less than 100. That's why you're reading as being 10. Now, how would you say this number in let's see if we can make this bigger. How would you read that number like they read it in slang? 10 thou. Exactly right. You got it. That's 10 thou. Or like, if somebody says 10 thou and you never heard that before, you're like, what are you talking about? That's what happened to me when I first went to work in a shop and I didn't understand this. I would say, how big are we making this? And there's a 10 thou, like 10. What are you talking about? 10,000s? That's that number, 10,000. So if that's the case, let's go a couple more. How do you read this number? That's in inches. Little tick marks right there. 1, 2. How would you read that?
0.02 seconds.
002. That's how you do it individually, but we're talking about how we read it here. Think of 3 digits. You already have the 3 digits, and you read this as a number. 2 thousandths of an inch. 2 thousandths of an inch. Correct. So, and what about this number? Let's make 3. And this in inches. How would you read that number? Right here on the right.
3 inches and 27 thousandths.
That's right. 3 inches and 27 thousandths of an inch. So you think of 3 digits after the decimal point, and then you say thousands right here. So I'm going to put thousands here. And let me see. Would this make it bigger? Closer set. And after you think of 3, you put thousands. So I'll write down the rule here big. Think of 3 digits after decimal point. And you say what? Thousands, right? And say thousands. Of an inch. However, you got to read the number, right? As reading hundreds. So if you got a number like let's apply the rule. Think of 3 digits. Does this have 3 digits after the decimal? Is the decimal? No, it doesn't. You're gonna add one more. I'll add it with the same color. Now it becomes clear, and then you're gonna say, read the number as hundreds. So this is 7 inches, 10 thousandths of an inch. And that's how you read numbers in the manufacturing world, in the machining world, in the shop. And if you're going to do slang type, it's going to be 7 inches, 10 thou. They don't even say inches anymore. They just want to say it really fast. Okay? So we've achieved the objectives, and now you should be able to read any number and be able to talk the language and that is in the machine shop. All right, thank you guys.